Hey everybody, this is Strategywizard again. Now we're doing another video where I look at Board Game Geek critics of a game that I like and see if they have any good reasons or if people are just posting things they shouldn't be posting. So let's take a quick look here. Okay, so we're going to start at the one. Now, really this game doesn't have a ton of comments like other games I've done. But there are some 1 stars, and just FYI, the range, the majority are 6 to 8, and the largest number is 7. The average on Board Game Geek is 6.8. So in case that helps y'all have an idea and you don't want to have to look it up yourselves. There's only 2 1-star comments. There's, "I'd rather play anything else. It's a garbage abstract game. Your moves are predicated on having the right cards to do anything meaningful. Anything in the GIPF series is infinitely better. You have Patchwork, Blocus Duo, Pentago, Chess, Go to choose over this game." Okay, well, obviously he likes abstract. He just doesn't like this game, and he doesn't like it because the cards decide what you can do. I'll agree that that is probably the most unfortunate aspect of the game in a sense, because you can't make moves that you want to make a lot of the time. But in my opinion, it really just presents you with a different way of having to look at the game. You may not always have what you need, but at least you have a way to analyze. You can see what they can do. You can see what you can do. You're both limited. Both sides are limited by the same issue. And you can strategize based on what you have. You know, maybe you can move up to the left and then to the right, and you can try to maneuver yourself into the long-term plan. Even though your opponent could mess it up, at least it gives you that chance to think about what you can do with what's available. I don't think it's as big of a deal as he thinks, that the cards limit what you can do. But I can see why some people wouldn't like it. It's not 1-star rating, and it's not garbage in my opinion. This other guy says, "Play cards to move the spaces on said card. Try to keep as many tokens on the board as you can and as big a blob as you can." That's all they say, not really a reason to give it 1 star. Obviously, they just didn't care for it, or they did that by accident. I've seen that happen before. Okay, 2 stars. "Very boring and annoying. Every turn, check what cards you can fit, and then what can opponent do if you do that, and so on." And that's... yeah, it is how the game works. You see what they can do. You decide, if I do this, what could they do? And to me, that's part of the fun, is trying to see and imagine or figure out all the possibilities and which one works best. I like that aspect. This guy obviously does not. "Played once. Simple abstract. Not the fault of the game, but I simply don't care for abstract games. Probably nice snack for abstract fans." Okay, well, he admits he doesn't like abstract games, and that's why he doesn't like it. Well, if you don't like abstract, you won't like this. There's no doubt about that. "Nice design, but lacked so much in theme that I traded it away. I was disappointed because they could have made a good game about the War of the Roses. Instead, they made a Reversi/Othello variant with a neat graphic design. So much wasted potential." It's interesting that he says he likes the design, he just doesn't like the fact there's no theme. Again, I don't think that's a reason to give it a bad rating. Now, he might have just not liked it in general, which is fair, but I agree with him. There is a lot of good design here, and the appeal of the visuals it's just great looking. And I will admit that, yeah, there could have been more theme, and you could have added more around it, but for an abstract game that's based on War of the Roses, I think it works. So I don't think it lacking more thematic elements is a reason to give it a bad rating. It's just different. This guy says, "Abstract, and it shows." Okay, well, yeah, it's abstract. Okay, that's all the 2 stars. Let's go to 3. Let me hit this. "Surprisingly basic." Okay, yeah, most abstracts are. "An all-right abstract, but nothing that I must own or play again." I'm surprised that this guy gave it 3 stars if it's all right, but I don't know. 3 stars seems very low to me. "Take the checkers, remove all your allowed moves, instead draw a card, which will tell you where to go. This is Rosenkönig," or whatever the name of this completely random game. I think Rosenkönig is maybe the original name of the Rose King. "I don't get it. How can from a traditional okayish game fall down to a completely broken game? It is still more fun than flipping a coin and guessing which side will win." Obviously, there's a trend here of people not liking the fact that the cards tell you what you can do. Again, I find that mechanic to be interesting because it gives you a sort of puzzle to figure out, what's the best option out of what I have available. And as I say, as you diminish in what cards you have, how many cards you have, your opponent starts to take notice of this and decide, hey, they're running out of cards. I have more. This is my chance to do more while they're struggling to get their card count back up. So I think that part's interesting. Obviously, a lot of people don't. This is an abstract game in which your moves are dictated by a sort of ticket-to-ride card draw. This makes for a somewhat random abstract game, which I really do not like. Sold it. Okay, more of the same. You're building your own territories and disrupting your opponents. Watch your opponent's cards. Luck plays too big a role. My wife loves this game. Okay, well, that's interesting. His wife loves it. He says there's too much luck involved, so obviously maybe they have a little war of the roses going on in their own household. Like a chess game where you have to roll a die to know which piece you can move. If you can't play a legal move, then your opponent plays again. Abstract plus randomness equals bad mix. Uninteresting. Now, again, it goes back to the same thing. Luck of the draw on the cards. If that is something that the idea of that bothers you, you probably don't want to get this game. Obviously, that's a trend here for people who don't like it. Not a great game, recommended and hard to get, so got it, but not that great. Okay. One of the early Cosmos 2-player games from their special line of such games. Light, abstract, reasonably fun. No great faults or mistakes that I can recall either, but rather dry and tenuous in its application of theme. I'm surprised this guy gave it 3 whenever he's not... That sounds more like maybe a 6 or a 5 review to me, but I don't know. This guy, he appreciates some of the elements of it. He just doesn't like the dryness, I guess. Oh well. A forgettable variant on Reversi or Othello with near zero theme. Well, you know what? That's not a reason to give it 3 stars. I mean, he says it's forgettable. I don't know what he means. I don't think it's forgettable, but obviously we differ. Okay. And finally, we're going to go to the 4 stars, look at some of those, and then we'll wrap this up. Now, just as FYI, 580 people have given this 8. 884 have given it 7, 675 have given it a 6, as opposed to 25 threes, 13 twos, 5 ones. So obviously the majority like it. Okay, this guy says, we picked this up locally at a very good price. Didn't know anything about it. Really only got it because it was cheap. I was pleasantly surprised to find that it's a decent game. I don't see it becoming a favorite, but there's enough of a puzzle to it that it can be fun. Just a little too light on strategy, though. This guy gives it a 4. I'm surprised it's a 4 because he seems to be somewhat positive about it, but again, it's the issue of the luck aspect, which I understand the luck can make a big difference, but I have never played a game of this where I felt like I really just had no chance. I mean, there's usually some shifts of power as people start making good moves over here, then you make some good moves, you steal one of their pieces, or, you flip it over is what I mean. I've never seen a case, and obviously it could happen, where you just get extremely unlucky, but I just don't think it happens very often. And again, at the beginning, you always have moves. And if you see that you're fixing to start getting trapped, that makes you want to play the cards that would get you trapped earlier, because like the threes, whenever you have to move 3 spaces, those are the ones that will end up messing you up. Because if you start getting close to the edge, and you have to move 3 spaces towards that edge, chances are you're not going to be able to play it. That's a problem, but you have to. But knowing that, those are the cards you should play first, because those are the ones that are going to limit you later, possibly. Or you can save them if you're planning on moving the opposite direction and then come back for a combo or to increase your land size. So I just don't think it's as bad as people think in that regard. The Rose King, or the War of the Roses as it is known in Yucata, is a straightforward and simple abstract game taking place at the tactical plateau. The 5 cards you have in your hand keep the planning horizon near, leaving very little room for big strategies. This has its pros and cons. A definite pro is that the individual turns play quite fast, since you cannot solve the game down to the very end. There is enough freedom in movement to further reduce the possibility of explicitly solving everything. Moreover, random card draws help create new situations every turn, asking the players to adapt. And I agree with all that. That, to me, is what makes it exciting. You don't know what's coming up, and whenever something does come up, you still have time to think about it and analyze what that's going to do to change the game. It says, moreover, random card draws. On the negative side, there are really no strategic elements to the game. You just play the situation at hand, trying to make the most out of it. Yeah, I mean, in the sense that you don't have some overarching strategy. You're just adapting all the time and making the most of what you have. But I don't see that as a problem because you still have to make tactical choices, and those choices can make a humongous difference. Because I've seen people make choices that they just didn't go over well for them because they weren't paying enough attention or they didn't realize how limited they were going to be in a few turns. So I think there's still plenty of choices to be made that matter. There's a fair amount of luck involved in the card draw, so you should not take the game too seriously. Just play and see if you can seize the opportunities. Most likely you cannot do what you wish, and more than often you will find yourself in a situation that first you cannot do anything, and next you are forced to make moves that help the opponent. Yeah, possibly. That's possible, but I think in a lot of cases you can adapt to not do that, but sometimes you get shoehorned into it. The biggest downfall of the game, however, is the scoring. Controlled areas are all scored differently depending on the number of stones of the same, they say stones, but it's, cardboard pieces, of the same color touching each other. The value of a group is defined by the number squared, and so you can imagine how difficult it is to calculate the score at the end or mid-game even. Thus, the game works much better online, where the scoring is handled by the computer. In addition, it is easy to reach a situation where the player who is lucky enough to form one bigger group is pretty much guaranteed to win the game automatically, since this one big group easily dominates several smaller groups. Of course, this is the nature of the game, but it is not really entertaining to keep playing a game that has been decided a long time ago. So despite being a fast-playing game, certain games of the Rose King can be a little bit long. You just keep beating the same... Yeah, okay. It is great that the rules are simple. However, this time they might be a bit too simple because the game feels a bit monotonous. A few more twists, especially in the area of longer-term planning, would have been nice. Okay, this guy hits on some things I agree with, but what I disagree with, he mentions two things. It's hard to keep score. It's not really that hard because if you watch my review, you'll see the instructions include the score sheet that shows if you have this many in a group, that's this many points. If you can't square the bigger numbers, you just look at that sheet and you can easily add up what your total is. So I don't think it's really that hard. And then he talks about how someone can get so far ahead because they have such a big conglomerate. That's true, but typically if you've probably allowed that to happen. Because if you've been paying attention, you'll move so they can't do that. Now, there are times where you'll have no choice and it'll happen. But that's where the power cards come in. You can go back in there and you can split someone's big powerhouse up, or you can make yourself have a big powerhouse by flipping over a tile that's splitting your two big chunks. So I don't agree with him there. You really... Runaway leader is a possibility, but I don't think it's because that would be because you weren't making good choices, in my opinion. I'm sure these people would say the cards make it to where you have no choice, but in my opinion, you do. You really have more control than these people let on, and I would hazard to say that most people agree with me, since the majority is 6, 7s, and 8s. I mean, it's not like the cards just dictate who's going to win in the sense that you have no choices. Having 5 cards in front of you, that's a lot of options. You have 5 different things, different directions, different distances, and I mean, don't get me wrong. 3 of them could be the same direction, but they're different distances. There's no duplicates. All the cards are different. So you'll have 1 going to the left, 2 going. You get the idea. 1 to the left, 1 space, 2 to the left, 2 spaces, 3 to the left, 3 spaces, and then so on. There's 1 to 3 in every card, so in every direction. The point is, there's a lot of variety here. There's a lot of chances of getting to do different things to stop your opponent. I just don't think it's to the degree that these people make it out to be. But y'all let me know what you think. I'm sure some people watching this might have a different opinion. What do you think about the game now that you see the negative side? Does it change your opinion of what from my review? Just let me know down in the comments. I appreciate y'all watching the video, and if you don't mind, could you subscribe? I'd appreciate that, and let me know if you have any other ideas or comments. And in the meantime, y'all have a good day. Thanks for watching.